the podium, you talk about Joshua Ruiz. What did you make of that rematch? Do you think Ruiz will be able to come back at some point?
Oh, absolutely. Ruiz is a fighter. He's a guy who there's no quit in him, and he admitted it. Look, he wasn't in shape. He when he came in at 280, I was surprised. I was in shock, and I expected that type of fight. I expected Joshua to keep him at bay, to use his distance, to use his smart, and that's exactly what he did. And he proved that he's one of the best in that division, if not the best at the heavyweight rankings. Absolutely. And
those are the words of Oscar Dela Hoya, the CEO of Golden Boy Promotions, and that was his take on Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua. Now, of course, we know that Oscar De La Hoya, Oscar, is, pro-Mexican. He's Mexican-American. Of course, he was going for Ruiz. He was happy. Everybody was ecstatic. Him, Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales. A lot of these guys were like, hey, Viva Mexico, right? And for the second fight, they were saying, hey, that Ruiz did it. He's going to beat Joshua again. Joshua can't take a punch. We don't see it going another way. The way that Ruiz put together the punches, he will win a second fight easy, if not faster, in the second fight. Now, narratives, stories, changed. Okay. Oh, he can come back. He's a good fighter. I was shocked. He was out of shape. It was clearly. Now you see how the scenario shifted to the point where now everyone's going and believing the same bullshit story. Andy Ruiz was just out of shape. You see what I mean? And here's the problem with that. Who was he training with? Manny Robles, his father. Let me get to that later. Michael Hunter. Right? These guys were sparring, training with Andy Ruiz at the same time. They were getting all prepared to go to Saudi Arabia because Michael Hunter was on the undercard. And what he had to say, he was like, man, Andy Ruiz is a beast. He was training hard. He had a great training camp. This was before that now. This wasn't after. This is before. So you can't now go back and say, oh, man, he was fat, he was out of shape. Yes, he was bigger. Okay? Yes, he was bigger. Okay? He was bigger. But did that mean at any time in that fight was Andy Ruiz, huffing for air? The dude's been fat. Why do you think it was such a big deal for him to upset Anthony Joshua? Because of the way he looked, right? Come on, let's stop acting like this is, oh man, he was out of shape. Look at how big he was. Dude, he was already fat. That had nothing to do with it. His physical appearance had nothing to do with how he lost in the second fight. Yeah, he was overweight because he ate too much, okay? Well, did that have anything to do with the dynamics, the physicalities of the fight? The tactics that he decided not to use? No, it was up to Joshua. Joshua said, okay, he got me like this, so I'm going to fight like that. Bottom line, I'm not going to engage like I did the first time because that's what he wants me to do. Okay, so let's stop with he was out of shape. And then they do that because what they're trying to do, they know Andy Ruiz, the only way that he's really going to get in, because Deontay Wilder, they took a big steamy piss on him over there. Let's just face it. And we'll know that when the next fight, if it's some garbage ass nobody fighter that we never heard of, then you'll know that Al Heyman said, okay, Ruiz, you're done too. They're going to be a Bob Arum part 2 because that's exactly what Bob Arum did to Andy Ruiz when he lost to Parker. Okay? So that's what they're hoping for. They're hoping he can get another Joshua fight. Why not? Right? I would be hoping that too if I'm Andy Ruiz or Andy Ruiz supporters. Right? To prove it wasn't a fluke with this guy that I beat and I upset one night in Madison Square Garden. Okay? And it's one of these things where now they're eating their words. Okay? The narrative, like I said, it changed. It shifted. Right? Now he just proved to me, Anthony Joshua, he proved to me that he's one of the best boxers, if not the best, one of the best out there right now. See, that wasn't the narrative before. Okay, the narrative before was, yeah, Joshua, he shocked us. I mean, he's not as good as we thought he was. Now everyone has to give props where props is due, which I can totally respect. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. Okay? There's nothing wrong with being wrong. But it's just funny how certain things, yes, he admitted, he didn't admit, I was wrong. But what he did say, hey, he gave him props where props was due. But then he threw that twist in that. Andy Ruiz was out of shape. So that's the narrative now. He's out of shape. So this is my thing. Hey, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So those guys got to stick to it. But the funny thing about it, you have guys, again, like Michael Hunter is saying totally different. No, I was with Andy Ruiz and he gave me the work. He's a good fighter. He trained hard. So there's no excuses. Right? But of course, everyone else with Team Ruiz will give you an excuse. But it's sad. It's sad. Because you're doing it, man, because those excuses came from him and his camp first. They didn't come from Dela Hoya, Morales, Borrera, none of those guys. It came from him. I ate everything inside. I wasn't in shape. Come on, man. Let's have some integrity. Let's have some dignity. Let's have both of them. Let's eat them up. Okay? That's what I'm like. But it shows you that when a fighter falls, how a person reacts and how a person writes them off like a bad check. And then when they do rise again, how they got to eat their words and how they got to make an excuse for eating their words. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Oscar De La Hoya's assessment of the Joshua Andy Ruiz rematch. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.